All right, so as I mentioned before, my name is Isaac Longworth, and I'm here to show why the pro-life movement needs to use graphic imagery of abortion in order to end the genocide of abortion that is taking place in our time. To start, I'd like to read to you a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., which he wrote in his letter from Birmingham jail. He compares injustice to boils and how both must be lanced and exposed before they can ever be healed. He writes, "Like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness, injustice must be exposed, with all the tension its exposure creates, to the light of human conscience before it can be cured." This same philosophy can and must be applied to abortion. And so I will show what the philosophy behind using graphic images is, how social rights and human rights activists have used graphic images to end injustices in the past, and how we can effectively use them to end abortion, and my own experience in this area. Abortion imagery helps people discover that the unborn are in fact victims here. Imagine you are a lawyer, and you have the duty to help people understand that a victim is in fact there. You will have to show the best evidence possible. And photo and video evidence is the best evidence we have. After World War II, the Allied soldiers forced German civilians to walk through concentration camps. Because while the German civilians saw their Jewish neighbors missing, and they knew that something bad was happening to them, they weren't able to realize what was going on because they couldn't see the victims. These pictures were taken from Lieutenant Colonel Park O. Yingst, commander of the 281st Battalion of the US Army, and they show German civilians being taken through because once they saw the bodies, they realized what they had allowed their government to do. And this was part of the ways that the Allied forces used to denazify Germany. I've shown how the philosophy of using graphic images to show that a victim is in fact there, because once people see the bodies, they realize that there is a victim. Now let's see how these graphic images have been used in the past to end injustices. Throughout history, human rights activists have used graphic images. For example, the civil rights movement, the anti-child labor movement, and even modern day things such as the anti-tobacco movement, which shows graphic images on cigarette packages, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving, who show bloody pictures of car crashes in order to teach people the dangers of drinking and driving. But one of the most relevant to this talk is William Wilberforce and the leaders of the abolitionist or the anti-slavery movement. William Wilberforce tried for nearly 20 years to end the evil practice of slavery in England. But the problem was that no one knew what slavery actually looked like. The slaves were on the plantations, they were working the sugar canes and stuff like that, and no one ever saw them. And so it was hard for them to visualize slavery. It was just a word in their mind. What Wilberforce did was he brought a visual representation of slavery to the English people in order to impact a societal change. And once he had a societal change, it would then impact a legislative change. And so he started showing the whips, he started showing the chains, he started showing the branding instruments, he started showing the backs of slaves who had been beaten. He would show the diagrams of slave ships to show how they were packed so tightly together, and he would bring people on tours of slave ships. He would pass out pamphlets on street corners, and he would put up posters with these images in restaurants and on public buildings. And he would show them in court when he was arguing for the right of slaves. He said once in his closing speech to the House of Commons, "You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you did not know." And this philosophy works with abortion as well. Because when we stand there with those abortion pictures, and we show people the choices that they are making, we can say the same thing to them. You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say that you did not know what abortion does. And finally, how can this be applied to the pro-life movement, and how have I seen it applied to the pro-life movement? For a while now, close to 3 years, I've been working with a group called Show the Truth. And our mission, as stated on our website, is to show the humanity of the child in the womb and the inhumanity of abortion. We hold these signs on public streets, outside of abortion clinics, and we mail entire cities postcards with these images. We do this so as to raise awareness that the preborn child is a true victim, and that in Canada alone, 300 of them are dismembered, decapitated, and disemboweled every single day. While out on the streets with these images, invariably it gets a very strong response either way. We often get a lot of media attention, and people say one of several things. Some of them say, "I don't want to see these images, they make me upset." And in answer to them, I will say, of course they make you upset. They make me upset as well. I think it would be unhealthy if they didn't make you upset. But which is worse, the picture of an action or the action that caused that picture to be taken? Some of them will say, "I don't want my children seeing this." And I agree, I don't want your children seeing it either. But the right of a child not to be shocked by these pictures is trumped by the right of those children not to be torn apart in their mother's wombs. And we can't risk not offending children if that means that we have to avoid preventing the deaths of these children. I want to leave you with these two pictures of living babies. The one on the left is named Abigail, and the one on the right is named Jacob. Both of these babies' mothers were scheduled for abortion, but they canceled when they saw our signs, because they realized that they could not do to their own children what they saw in our pictures. And they called our director afterwards and sent pictures of these babies to encourage us that we are in fact making a difference and that lives are being saved. And every day I'm on the streets, I see hearts and minds being changed on abortion because of these images. I strongly encourage all of you to take part in this mission to expose abortion in all of its brutality. I would love to answer any questions you have afterwards in order to how to get concretely involved in this. Trust me, it's worth it, if not just for their sakes.